Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to run through a brief tutorial on the electronic gamer scoreboard for baseball. I've seen a few people on the forums that were interested in baseball classics specifically, is what this is regarding, and they want to enjoy the game and love the cards as I do, but are frustrated by the use of the fielding matrix, which is a big part of the game if you ask me, because it really adds a neat segment to the game that adds realism and intrigue and excitement to the game of baseball classics. So I wanted to show how the electronic scoreboard has some built-in features in support of it that makes playing baseball classics a lot easier and smoother, I think. So basically just go into the electronic scoreboard, and of course you can type in the names of your rosters here, put in any name you want and any player and any position. But for the sake of time, I'm going to load some rosters that are coded, automatically loaded through the code, and I'm going to choose the 61 Yankees against the 75 Cincinnati Reds. And I'll load the lineups, and basically you would just type in the names and put in the positions for each player in the lineup and click Load Lineups. And that will load the lineups, and we're ready to go. We've got the names of each team loaded in at the top automatically, otherwise you would type that. The first thing to do is click Start Game, and that sets the default field, which is the Field of Dreams. The little stadium icon here I'm going to change, which puts us in Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio, 1975, or somewhere close to that. So what I want to show is that you can click on this little lineup sheet to bring up the lineups. The little glove is a nice little helper that's built into the electronic scoreboard. And in here, this one is kind of aimed more at APA baseball, and you can enter in the ratings for the players and get the total for the fielding and the total for the infield, total fielding, and also the PRNs that are related to the advanced fielding option in APBA. But for this tutorial, click on the glove a second time, and this is the Baseball Classics fielding ratings. So let me go through. I've got the cards here in front of me. Bobby Richardson's yellow, Yogi Berra is catcher green on the visiting team. Roger Maris is red in right field. Mickey Mantle is yellow in center. Elston Howard, I don't know if I have him catching. Yeah, he's catching, so he's green as well. We've got Yogi DH, and I'm using the DH in this one, unfortunately. Bill Skowron, first base is yellow. Bob Curve is yellow, which is the default setting over there. Tony Kubek is red at shortstop. And Clete Boyer is yellow at third. And you can see that I have actually created a numbering rating system that is not part of Baseball Classics typically, but I use that in some of my custom rules for double plays against dice rolls, using fielding numbers and ratings, and also for the outfield assists, for computing my ground ball double plays and outfield assists, and maybe we can get to that some other time. So for the home team, Pete Rose is at third, he's yellow. Ken Griffey's red in right field. Turn the visitor one off for right now. And you can turn them on and off by just clicking on the headers. Joe Morgan is green at second base. Johnny Bench is yellow catcher. George Foster is green in left field. Tony Perez yellow. Cesar Geronimo is green in center field, of course. He seems like he always got a Gold Glove or close to it. And shortstop, Concepcion. Woo. So these will swap back and forth during the innings. Let me go ahead and close lineups. So that you're only viewing the team that is in the fieldings for quick reference. So it allows for a quick reference. And I'll show you how this works, and it really helps the Baseball Classics game flow. So I've got some dice and the cards in front of me. I'm going to roll. This is the default dice that come with it. They will go away after I enter the first result. So we have top of the first, Don Gullett pitching against Bobby Richardson. Rolling my Baseball Classic dice. And basically we have an 11 on the pitcher's card, which is a pop-out. So what I'm going to do, and this is the key to what I want to show you, for a pop-out, you hit P on your keyboard, pop-out. And see right there? It's a pop-out to the shortstop. Basically, the whole problem with Baseball Classics that I think people are having is the re-roll on the fielding matrix. With the use of this scoreboard, you don't have to do the re-roll. You simply enter in P for pop-out, L for line-out, F for fly-out, G for ground-out. And on screen, it'll run through an algorithm, and it will show you if there was an error or not. If it automatically goes away, there was no error. If a color comes up at shortstop or left field, then you match it against the color of the fielder in question to see if it was an error. If it was an error, you just enter E in your keyboard for error, and it advances the batter to first base and the base runner supporting. So second batter, Bobby Richardson. And it's on the batter's card 7, which is a strikeout, so I'm going to enter K on the keyboard. And you can see a strikeout is registered. And it's a strikeout registered for Don Gullett. And pitches thrown up to 11, batter's face 2. Roger Maris is up. Goes to the batter's card for a 10, which is a pop-out. So again, I'll hit P on the keyboard. See, it's a pop-out to first base. And it went away. It was no color indication, so it's an out. There was no error. Pete Rose is up. It's a 13 on the batter card, and that's a single for Pete. So I'll hit S on the keyboard, and these instructions are all online in the forum for the electronic baseball scoreboard and how to use it. So we have Pete Rose on first base. Ken Griffey's up. It's on the pitcher's card, Whitey Ford, and it's a 10, which is a flyout. So I'm going to hit F for flyout. You can see it's left field, and there was no error. There's no color. It automatically went away and registered an out, so there was no error. If there was an error, it would have come up with green, yellow, red, and then if it matches the left field's color, there's an error. So this is kind of seamless and kind of neat, and it keeps the game flowing. Joe Morgan, it's a 12 against the batter's card, and that is, we'll call this a ground out to show an example. I'll hit G. You can see it went to the shortstop, and there was no error because it went away and there was no color on it. So that was a ground out. And then, like I said, I have a system where I roll to see if it would double play. So I would have used my rating system of 6 against the batter's speed, which was Joe Morgan. And I do a roll, and I have a little system I use to see if it was a double play. But for simplicity and for the basic Baseball Classic rules, we have an out right now, just a typical ground out, which puts Joe Morgan on first base. Pete Rose was out at second base. Johnny Bench is up. It's a roll of 16 off the pitcher's card, and that is a double. D for double, and that puts Joe Morgan on third base with 2 outs. And again, I have a system that uses the base runner's speed, and because there was 2 outs, would adjust for that as well. And it would also use the outfielder's rating over here. So that brings up George Foster. And that's an 8 off the pitcher's card, which is a line out. So I'll hit L. You can see it was a line out to the third baseman. No color, no error. It went away, registered the out. The inning is over. 2 men left on base. Okay, we'll go see how far I can go here. Mickey Mantle's up. And it's a 10 off the pitcher's card, which is a ground out, G. And that went to the catcher, no color, and it went away and registered the out, so there was no error. So again, there was an error, it would come up with color around the baseball, and you would match it against the fielder's color to see if there was an error. Oh, and it'll stop. It will not register to the out automatically if a color comes up. It'll wait for your input of either E for error or O for out. This is an 8 off Elston's card, and we'll just call it a fly out. You can see it's a fly out. Let's see if I can get an error to come up. And we'll say Skowin flied out, F for fly out, and he's out. Tony Perez, we'll say he grounds out with a G. I'm not going to roll the dice anymore. I'm just going to put in inputs. Fly out F. And line out L. Bob Kerr, let's say he popped out. First baseman. Tony Kubek grounds out to third base. And Clete Boyer grounds out to third base. Dave Concepcion ground out to second base. Pete Rose ground out to shortstop. And Ken Griffey ground out to first base. Okay, now we have a ground out. Johnny Bench, he's hit a ground out. I hit G for the ground out. You can see it's red. You can see it stopped. It did not register the out automatically. So I would take this red and match it against the color of the third baseman, and it's not red, so it's not an error. If the third baseman was red, it would be an error. For the shortstop to make an error, it would have to be red, right fielder red, and if it was yellow, these guys would make an error, pitcher, first base, second base, third base. And it would have to be green for the catcher to make an error. This is the third base red, he's yellow, so it's not an error. So for me to get the system to move along, I either put E in the keyboard or 0 or O for out. I'm going to press O for out because it was not an error. Okay, so that's pretty much how it works. For those who are not familiar with the electronic scoreboard, you basically can click here for single, double, triple, home run, base on balls, errors, on base. This is used when there's an out made out on the field, and it will not advance the batter. So if it was a double play, it would register the out normally, and then to register a second out without advancing the guy that's at bat, you just press here to register a special out. But I use the keyboard most of the time, and I rarely, if ever, use these inputs over here by clicking on the screen. I just use the keyboard, which does the same thing. So to bring up the lineups, you just click on the lineup sheet here, and you can make changes to the lineup. And when you make a pitcher change, you just hit the little refresh arrows here, and that'll take Whitey Ford out of the game. You say I wanted to put Bill Stafford in relief, or as, yeah, and then click load lineups to load the lineup. And you can see Bill Stafford's in. And I've also integrated a great little thing that I like from Status Pro, which is the pitcher fatigue system. And I set my relievers at 6 and my starters at 13, and I really like how that works out. Okay, so I'm using Screencast down here to record this video, and the free version gives you 15 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up, and I hope this will help some of the baseball classics gamers out there. And if you have any questions, I will post this, and we can address them there. Thanks.